Hey guys, we're back. We're just gonna combine the past couple of days because they were our two birthdays. It's like a birthday special. And we left you last time. We had just hung out with our friends Mark and Jillian in Longhorsely, which is not far from Morpeth, maybe 10-15 minutes.
Kind of in the Newcastle-ish.
Yeah, Northumberland is the area.
area.
It's Newcastle-ish, about 45 minutes. Yeah, it's close enough. So we woke up, and Mark and Jillian are always kind of giving us historical stuff to see, and especially on this trip, since we've been doing so much of it, they were like, we want to take you to one of these two castles. And one is a couple things we've learned here. Anytime there's a wick at the end of a town name or something here, there's no W, it's just ick. Yeah. So Alnwick, which is like a castle that's famous for some being in Harry Potter, some angles and
facade
the facade
is Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was another castle called Bamburgh, which is another pronunciation, much like Edinburgh. You know, berg at the end of a word here is borough.
It reminds me of that Flight of the Conchord song. Like, I thought you said her name was Barbara. No, I said her name was Berbera. No, Barbara. No, Bambara. Yeah.
Bamburgh. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You got some singing in for free on this video.
That's my birthday gift to all of you.
That was yesterday. That's all right. But we decided, even though we're big HP fans, we decided to go to Bamburgh because when I Googled it, every image was like, it's on the beach.
Yeah, on the sea. So beautiful.
And it's like on this hill. That one of the interesting things that we've seen a lot of ruins and, things of that nature, but this castle is still lived in by descendants of members of the Armstrong family, which were descendants of just one of Britain's like most famous inventors, and it was like part history and museum to him and his the family's inventions, which just the gamut of everything from like boats and ships to engines to planes and weapons and all.
I think like the big takeaway about like the sort of patriarch for me was that he looked at water and saw how it was being used inefficiently. Like he saw it as a source of power. So a lot of his designs incorporate a lot of hydraulics. And I thought that was interesting that he saw something in the everyday that had this sort of unused potential.
Yep.
I thought that was really neat.
And then how he ended up owning a castle that was on the water. It's very...
Oh, very full circle.
Listen. So it was partly lived in, so you're kind of seeing just sections of the castle, but it was still very neat to walk the grounds, and it was the first castle in British history to lose a battle to cannon fire.
To be destroyed.
Yeah, it had just been almost nearly leveled from the pictures that we'd seen, and it had gone almost into ruin, and no one had cared for it, and then it was purchased, and they rebuilt a significant portion of it. And so they did a really nice job of kind of returning rooms back to how they were thought to look. And I think it was really nicely done. And the grounds were really beautiful, and the ocean. I'm a sucker for the ocean. So
the castle like originally was built, you're gonna have to help me with the date, but it's a very, very old site.
Yeah.
And so I think...
Well, they said the initial, like, keep, not the main one, but, like, there was first a castle there in the 700-800, because just that spot is very strategic, especially because it's very close to the Scottish border. And a lot of the history of that castle has to do with Scottish-British skirmishes. And
even, like, internal struggles with England. It played a pretty major role in the War of the Roses.
Yep.
And
so it was a good connector for the stuff we'd kind of learned at Warwick, too.
Yeah.
Warwick, see? We're learning. But yeah, we did that, and that was cool because Mark and Jillian hadn't even been there.
Yeah, it was really cool to experience it for the first time with everyone in our group.
So then we went back to their house, and they set up for what was really a magnificent house concert. We napped because we're super helpful like that. No, it's very sweet of them. Like, we've just, how I travel, it's just, we're always kind of on the run. So it's always, whenever we can get a chance to kind of catch up, or do laundry or nap or whatever. It's nice to take that moment. I
would just like to add to that they like, there's like normal hospitality, which is already so generous, and then there's like, yes, you can like stay at my house and like wash your clothes in my washer and dryer. And then that morning was my birthday, and Mark and Jillian had made me a card.
Personalized.
Yes, and then
like the front of the card was cool.
It said the Caffeine Queen.
Caffeine Queen.
But also, Mark has like he has like this pizza oven in the backyard. He was gonna make pizza for everybody, and he had all these like food stuff things to prepare. And in the middle of it, he and Ben were talking about piping the music for the night kind of through their home stereo system. In the middle of all his to-do list, he was like, "Oh, you need XYZ cable? I'm just gonna solder something together for you."
Let me get that.
So there's normal stuff like, oh, you're seated down, you're busy, like I'll bring you a piece of cake, and then you can do laundry at my house, to like, let me solder a piece of
invent stuff.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and invent something for you to make your life easier.
I've been inspired by our castle visit.
Just can't say enough about how they took care of us and made us feel loved and cared for, and
absolutely
just so generous with their time and their space, and also just we love spending time with them.
Their people, everyone, their neighbors and friends that came. It's such an indicia, good indicators of who people are and what they're about when all their friends are also so wonderful and caring and like remembered us from 4 years ago and remembered some stories from the night, and it was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I said it during the show. I just said, one of my favorite parts of doing what I do for a living is getting to like reconnect with people semi-regularly. Usually it's more than 4 years, but just having those chances to kind of check back in with people and where they are in life, and that part's really neat because it's just different everywhere you go, and everyone's got a different story, and that's what makes humans cool when they're cool. You know what I mean? So yeah, we had a great concert. Great show. Mm-hmm. You sang real nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There were, I don't know, maybe 50 people total, maybe less than
40,
that.
50, something like that.
And for the most part, they were like Mark and Jillian's peers, but there was a couple of young families there, and there's this gaggle of little girls running around, and for, maybe like 4 or 5 of them, and all of them were pretty like,
kids.
They were just kids. Like sitting around. They were like kind of giving Ben a hard time about playing some music right away.
Yep.
And this one little girl, while the other ones kind of went off and played, she sat there during Ben's entire set and watched him, just like with the.
At the very beginning, she asked if I was going to play any Bon Jovi.
Yes. We learned later that's.
Yeah, her favorite artist used to be Bon Jovi. I'll give you one guess who it is now. You got a 50% chance.
No, it was very sweet.
It was super sweet. Yeah. She was just like...
Yeah.
And then there was a raffle. So they raised some money for a local hospice care place there through a raffle for like some wine and gin. I think it was a few bottles.
Just like little...
It was very cool. And then at the end of the night, that young girl and her dad like came up to me. And he was like, so my daughter, and it's a Celtic name, otherwise I would try to pronounce it, but I don't want to ruin it.
It's a beautiful name.
It was really beautiful.
Also butcher.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. I wish I'd like really remembered how to pronounce it well.
You can just say you're protecting her privacy.
That's right. She is young. She doesn't need to be on the internet yet. But anyway, they came up afterwards, and her dad was like, blah blah, Bon Jovi used to be her favorite artist, but she came up to me, a little while ago, and she said, I think I have a new favorite artist. And he was like, well, did you go tell him? Have you told him? And she was like, she's very shy, and so he's like, we gotta go tell him. So he kind of brought her over, and she said, she was like, it's you. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
Very sweet. And so I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So now I got when I get home, I got to remember to send her some goods.
Because kids have no reason to be dishonest about stuff like that. You know, like I think as adults we are always kind of wondering if somebody's being genuine with us, but
Every day.
they'll tell it like it is.
That's
But
true.
that's very sweet that
It was
Bon
super
Jovi.
it was super sweet. Sorry, Jimmy.
That's Bon Jovi.
Yeah, Jimmy Bon Jovi. Isn't that his first name?
Jim Bon Jovi.
Jimmy Javes. Anyway, it was you have a good birthday?
I had an excellent birthday. On top of it all, so we had this great house concert. Oh, in the middle of it, like Ben pulled me up to sing a song with him, and right when I finished, I get like a normal amount of nerves, and then I was getting ready to step off stage, and Mark came up with a big box of really beautifully decorated cupcakes to celebrate both of our birthdays, and everybody sang to me, and that was the thing that pushed me over the edge nerves wise. I felt like my legs were jello.
And they had little coffee beans.
They were so
and
cute.
Keyboards and music notes.
Yeah, very, very sweet.
It was super cute.
Yeah, it felt...
And they were good.
Yeah. Oh, they were
We had
so
them for
good.
breakfast and for dinner.
Yeah.
That is how you birthday was. 2 birthdays in a row.
Yeah.
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
We cut them up for everybody, and then we saved a few and like threw them in a random cabinet. So in the morning we could find them. It was great.
But so like the evening winds down, and it's Mark and Jillian, Ben and me, and then another couple of their friends who were staying over because they had a really long journey to and fro. And Mark had gotten up to like refresh somebody's drink, and he comes back in, and he's making his way to his seat, and a deck of cards just fell out of his pocket, and which we know from last year that Mark is an excellent magician.
Well, 4 years ago
or last year, sorry.
I know.
4 years ago.
They all
I'm
knew
gonna
what you
time
meant.
warp.
But he like a friend of his, Graham, I think was his
Yeah.
name. He was the one that lent me a sound system 4 years ago, and also is a professional magician. And so, like, while I was in between sets or whatever, people were outside, he was like doing magic. And you know, there's a magic part of being a magician, and there's like the showman part of being a magician. So he did all this stuff, and at the end of the night, Mark was like, "Oh, I do a little bit too." And we were like, "All right, Mark, what's okay?" And he would be like,
so
"I'm,
humble about
I
it.
don't do it very often.
Oh,
And
like a
blah,
probably
blah, I'm gonna mess it up," and then just blew our minds, and we were like,
It was the greatest,
"Liar!"
It was the greatest hustle.
It was.
So this time we knew what to expect. We knew that he
Yeah,
was secretly amazing.
I think we were all just sitting around at night, being like,
Yep. Is it time
"Hello,
for magic?
Mr. Mark."
So he did a couple of card tricks, and they were just phenomenal. And I put it on my Instagram, but I was just reflecting at the end of the night that like my inner 6-year-old would have loved this birthday. I got to explore a castle. I got cupcakes. I got a magic show.
Speaking of magic, you got something behind your ear.
What's that?
It's a card. This is a card
Silly.
that Mark had Amanda sign
To show that it was like a real deck of cards.
during one of the tricks. Yeah,
Yep. And now I've
fantastic.
got a souvenir. Anyway,
Hope that went as well as I planned.
we'll have to review
I'm a
the
magic
footage.
man myself. I should have disappeared. That would have been great.
Oh
I'd be
yeah,
like,
we'll have to add some video effects.
can't
Anyway,
see me.
It was a great birthday, and it was really. We had a very, very nice day with our friends Mark and Jillian. And,
Yeah.
House concerts are always fun. They're always fill your heart up.
Definitely.
And
And we had gained some great stories 4 years ago, so it was kind of fun to see everyone again and like reconnect those stories, but then make some new memories too. Then we woke up, we had breakfast,
Cupcakes round 2.
cupcakes round 2, and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of recap, cleaned up. I had left all the gear set up. We just kind of sat outside for a little bit. It was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had the kind of a midday train. There's the train strike. The last day of the train strike was today. So we were fortunate that our train still worked. It was on time. Everything was fine. It was very, very full because
very
yesterday was
crowded.
like the official big strike day. But, Mark took us to the train station. We had a nice goodbye with everybody. I got my own birthday card because today is my birthday.
At the time of making this video, it's basically been.
Well, now it's the 3rd, so it's nobody's birthday.
I know.
Oh,
Anyway.
It was me and Keanu Reeves' birthday yesterday. and probably some other people. But they had a nice card for me that was like guitar themed and also personalized. Very cool. I didn't know that you could do that with cards. It was really neat. And went to the train. Had a great train ride. It was the same trip we took 4 years ago, where it goes up the coast and to like one of my favorite. I really wanted to go this time. I just forgot. Also, when would we have done it? But it's Berwick upon Tweed, and it's like a very picturesque, like on the water, where like when the tide is up, it's just like the houses are just kind of in the water with the beautiful bridges. The train goes right over the inlet. It's just very pretty. So next time we'll go. But the train goes right by it and it goes up the coast the whole way. Gorgeous. Go to Edinburgh, stop in Edinburgh. We once again only spent 10-15 minutes in Edinburgh because we're going there tomorrow. But whatever, we got on our train.
We're not allowed to visit Edinburgh for more than 10 minutes at a time.
That's correct. Isn't there rules to this game? Took an hour train to Glasgow and showed up, went to the station like shows up on the main little drag. There's like George Square, which is by the really beautiful old municipal buildings and some great statues, and it's just a very open air kind of hang spot. We opened up right on that. And then Buchanan Street, which is like a main thoroughfare, no cars, like walkway. It's also a big shopping area. So we walked through that and then got to our hotel, dropped bags off, and then we just kind of went out walking around to see some kind of things we had marked off as wanting to see.
We tried to go to a Piper's Museum, and they were having a wedding there, so that it was closed for a private event.
Made me so sad because you can like go in and try and play bagpipes, your own pipes. They like give you a clean mouthpiece and stuff. Anyway, whatever. Dang it! I'm sure we'll see some.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see some more. But we decided to go to the cathedral, Glasgow Cathedral, which the spire is being cleaned, under construction. It has a lot
of scaffolding.
But it's still such an incredibly gigantic and beautiful cathedral. You might get sick of us saying that, but it's what people can do is totally impressive. And right next door is the necropolis, which is just an extraordinary. It's like the graveyard for the fanciest of fancy Victorian era folks. I mean, it was like...
If you were high society in Victorian England, you were buried at the necropolis and got a really cool headstone.
You were also high elevation-wise, because it is the highest spot in the city. And so we walked all the way up, wrecked my legs, because I'm now very old because of my birthdays today, you know.
It was pretty steep.
No, it was steep, but it was beautiful. And once you got to the top, you just had this just insane view of the city.
It's like tombstones and mausoleums and big sculptures.
There's headstones, and then there's like head.
I mean, they're just almost like really ornate
art.
walls.
They're pieces of art.
They're very beautiful, and
some were like Greek inspired, and some were. It was incredible.
Yeah. It can be a little... I know some people are really spooked out by graveyards, but we went in the middle of the day when it was sunshiny. And also, I think part of it is, my interest in history, but I don't see what the big deal is.
I'm not saying it's a big deal, but like I told you today, when some of them are like slanted, or there's like just a whole random hole in the ground, I'm like, somebody's trying to get out of there, and I got it.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, we went on a very like beautiful day weather-wise, so I think that helped kind of mute some spooky.
Yeah. If you asked me to go at night, I would definitely be like, I gotta wash my hair.
Years and years ago, I used to participate with this website called findagrave.com, where you can basically like identify graveyards in your neighborhood, and somebody can submit a photo request for a headstone, and if it's... You can basically claim that request and say, I will go and take a picture of this headstone and I'll submit it to the website. So if you're maybe doing your family history and kind of wanted to know where your great-great-great-grandparents were buried, what their headstone looks like, a volunteer could go and take a picture of that headstone for you. It's
because of that site I was able to find, those of you that I've talked about this a couple of years ago, I went back into the Northeast and found some old headstones of some relatives of mine, because I'd spent some time my free trial week on Ancestry working overtime to find as many as I could. So it's a super helpful site, and I was able to, and you can like not only take a picture, but kind of type in where in the
you can type any kind of information, but it's neat because there's, it's a record keeping website, but because it's sort of like Wikipedia almost, it's like very volunteer based in terms of getting photos and stuff. But that's something I really like to do. Years and years ago was go and volunteer to take photos of headstone.
Amanda calls them people libraries, which makes it a little more approachable.
Then that's all that it feels like, is it's just like sort of a little physical record of a person who lived a long time ago.
And then as we were leaving, she was like, when I off you out of this world, how would you like to... Come on. So we left there. We went and saw the Duke of Wellington, which is a famous statue.
Another monument we saw while we were exploring the necropolis was a monument to William Wallace.
Wallace.
One of Ben's heroes.
Man.
My foot's falling asleep.
Oh, yeah, me too. I found a little, it's like at the bottom of the necropolis, but a really beautiful like stone and a helm.
Yeah.
Like carved, and it was to mark a raid that William Wallace had on the Glasgow Castle.
I was having a private giggle to myself last night because we're very far north in England, and so Mark and Jillian are kind of giving us the history of their area, and they're like, oh, there's also an old church. I believe the phrase Mark used was like, did you know that William Wallace set our church on fire?
Yeah.
Kind of like, and he's clearly on Team Church in this one, but there was another guest at the house concert who was Scottish, and she is so pumped to be Scottish, as most Scottish people I know are, and I don't blame them. If I was that Scottish, I'd probably be really excited about it as well.
She just sound cool.
Yeah, but we were catching up with her, and she said, did you know that William Wallace set that church on fire? So she was. He
was here. It's like Elvis was here.
Right. So as where Mark was on Team Church, our friend Karen was very clearly on the side of William Wallace. So
that is how it works.
So I think that monument, but kind of marked a point in time. Was it castle related? Was it Glasgow?
I thought they said Glasgow Castle.
Yeah.
Which who knows what that means then, but
Yeah. Anyway, very cool to kind of like connect with that side, especially
because that's all I want to do when I'm up here.
Yeah, is quote Braveheart and learn more about your hero.
Amen. We should watch it now. What is it? It's only 2 a.m. or something. Let's do it.
Perfect. We've got enough time. So that was the only other thing that I wanted to make sure we included about the necropolis.
But we also saw this statue outside the Modern Art Museum called the Duke of Wellington, which is very well known for people just continually placing like an orange cone on his head.
Like a traffic cone on his head.
Today he had 3 of them. It was like one on his head, one underneath him, one in his arm. Like it was excessive
like something
conage.
That like I think officially, people like.
Oh no, they're not happy about it.
No, nobody's happy about it, but it keeps on happening, and I think it's that sort of like dance they have of like, how heavily do we police this? Is it worth it to take the cone off just for it to be replaced tomorrow?
Yeah, what a difficult situation.
It's very much like a choose what hill you want to die on kind of a thing.
No, that's the necropolis.
That's
I made a joke. What else? Did we saw something else?
After the Duke of Wellington, we went.
Well, I had a show.
Yeah, well,
because I like to work on both of our birthdays.
Yep.
So I had a show at Waxy O'Connors, which is, I think there's, not a chain here, but there's like another location of that name in a couple places. But, what a unique.
In the movie Hook, the treehouse structure that the Lost Boys live in, that's what this bar was like. It must have had at least 4 stories. But it's also kind of like
they weren't even stories; they were just like hanging
in Hogwarts, where the staircases move. I got so lost in that place.
And the stage isn't on a floor.
No,
it's just like its own little like balcony area with its own light system, and like it was cool. So you're like playing, and out in front of you is nothing, but you look down and there's the bar of the main floor.
Like in a little box.
Yeah.
In the wall.
Anyway, it was really cool. Yeah. And we met some Americans there who were like, every song you're singing is our jam.
They were just, they were in the other room. They heard Ben talk and was like, oh, this is like an accent that I can understand.
We know this person. And they were from California, so that made sense. Anyway, it was a really fun show. Really nice. They took care of us very well. We, as I usually do, I forgot to order food early enough, so we just grabbed some, like a pretty darn decent little pizza from a corner shop right next door. And now we're here.
Did you have a good birthday?
I did.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful birthday. Because it was with you.
Oh, thanks, baby.
And Scotland. You know. Tomorrow, Edinburgh. We'll tell you about it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening.